This is Brian, screenfiles.com and review. And what I'm looking at today is 2023's Rebel Moon, directed by Zack Snider. Rebel Moon revolves around a woman named Cora, played by Sophia Boutella, who was once an elite soldier for Motherworld. The story doesn't tell you Motherworld means Earth, but in any case it's a very powerful, militarily speaking, planet. And it's run by her father, Belisarius. Though at some point, Cora notices that Motherworld is extremely cruel. She eventually leaves Motherworld and ends up on a planet called Velt, which is very beautiful, very pastoral, and has a farming-based economy. So she is somewhat distant from everyone else on Velt due to her experiences on Motherworld. Though eventually she starts to open up just a little bit. And when that happens, it goes without saying that a dreadnought, a warship, arrives in the skies over Velt. And Atticus Noble, the commander of the ship, played by Ed Skrein, comes to the planet seeking supplies. Cora, being familiar with how Motherworld works and how it just destroys whatever it wants and takes whatever it needs, goes in search of people to help her defend her adopted planet. She leaves with Gunnar, who's played by Mikkel Hausman, to find these individuals. Rebel Moon has lots of issues by my reckoning, though one of the first is that Cora's story is essentially the same story as that of Gamora from Avengers Infinity War in particular. Doubt me? Take a look at these scene-by-scene comparisons. As you can tell, Cora, being very much Gamora, is extremely competent as a fighter and extremely clever as a strategist, except when she isn't. In their travels to find the individuals to save Velt, they come upon a bar, and this is where they meet Kai, played by Charlie Hunnam. Within minutes of meeting him, they're telling him their plan and what they intend to do. This is a problem because, as I implied, it makes Cora seem stupid. She doesn't know who Kai is, nor does Gunnar. This man could be anything, and if you watch the movie, you'll see who Kai is. Though my point is simply that you don't tell a stranger your plans. Though Kai also has a ship, and he's going to allow them to use it. Kai drops whatever it was he was doing and adapts their agenda. It's silly on the face of it. Who would trust this man? But it goes without saying, Cora and Gunnar do. And this is primarily because, as I've said millions of times, Zack Snyder is not only not a good writer, he's doing things to move the story along. Movies do this all the time. It's not unusual, nor is it a bad thing. It's bad when you can see it happening. And that's the problem with how Cora relates to Kai. He's clearly going to betray her. It is almost written on his forehead, but she does not see it because movie. It is frustrating because you know what's going to happen the minute he turns up. And this is a minor point, but it's important. Why is Kai talking with an Irish accent? And I mean a pronounced Irish accent. And not only is he talking with a pronounced Irish accent, but no one seems to notice that he's talking with a pronounced Irish accent. The universe is grown so large with all these aliens and worlds and stuff, people would probably, humans that is, would probably talk in a certain way. Talking with such a thick accent would likely be unusual, though. That's less a future thing than Charlie Hunnam thinking, and by the way, I should mention Charlie Hunnam is British, not Irish, thinking that I do a good Irish accent. I want to do an Irish accent. And Zack Snyder letting him do it. This is a mistake, because, as I said, it's a relatively minor point, but it took me out the movie because it was so odd a choice. Rebel Moon started life as a Star Wars movie, in that Zack Snyder originally pitched a version of this idea to Kathleen Kennedy, who had Lucasfilm, and she decided not to make it, which I think is a good move on her part. So what Zack Snyder and two other writers did was to take his kernel of an idea for that Star Wars movie and retool it for Rebel Moon. The problem is, it's still a Star Wars movie. It unfolds in a similar fashion as Star Wars. So that's a bit of an issue. Another thing is that it mixes in things like The Chronicles of Riddick from 2004, Battle Beyond the Stars from 1980, The Magnificent Seven from 1960, and it goes without saying, Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai from 1954, which in of itself was the inspiration for Star Wars. So it takes all these elements, but never quite develops its own voice. It never becomes unique in and of itself. And that's a pity, because Star Wars managed to do it, yet for some reason Rebel Moon couldn't. Rebel Moon is dour. People in Zack Snyder's version of a future don't seem to smile or even joke. It's really odd, and it's unnecessary, because Korra has enough dourness for a universe. She's gone through a lot of shit, and I don't begrudge her feeling how she feels. But everyone else feels the same, though there are exceptions. For instance, Sindri, played by Corey Stoll, great actor by the way, as the head of the colony on Velt, actually smiles and jokes around a little bit. It goes without saying, he also dies relatively quickly, indicating to me at least that Zack Snyder's saying something with this. And that seems to be that happiness is punished. It's something that can never be achieved for long because someone's going to come and take it. It's a really odd turn of events. And once again, this does not need to happen. All Snyder had to do was give these people a little heart, give them a little sense of humor. And that's not to say turn it into a comedy, but people laugh. People find joy at the darkest times. And I would argue it's that joy that sustains us. And Zack Snyder wants nothing to do with that. This is going to come off very odd, but while I don't think Zack Snyder is gay, he has a thing for the male body. In quite a few of his movies, 300, Man of Steel, this, he has, Aquaman, he has these paragons of male beauty on display. Most of the time, wearing as few clothes as possible. And I don't know why he does this. But, as I said, while I don't think Zack Snyder is gay, he certainly has that feel about him. In Rebel Moon, there's a character named Tarek, played by Stas Nair, who has abs, literally, not figuratively, literally like a washboard. Each one is very clearly defined. But the thing is, there's nothing about the character that makes that necessary. Never mind never wearing a shirt. He just can't wear shirts. Now I assume everywhere in the universe is not hot. So why is this guy not wearing a shirt? It is confusing to me. And once again, Zack Snyder clearly loves the male form. It's weird, it's kind of strange, and I don't know the point of it really. Once again, Snyder looks amazing without a shirt. But what is being served by this? Do we really need to see this guy's six-pack abs? And you notice he doesn't do this for women. Zack Snyder, in no film that I've seen of his, treats women in the exact same manner as he treats men, particularly hunky, well-muscled men. It is really strange and very gay. I just don't get it. Though it's worth mentioning that the most directly gay thing in this movie happens in the bar that I mentioned earlier when Cora and Gunnar are looking for someone. I believe it's a general played by Dimon Hansu. There's this alien that finds Gunnar attractive, male alien, and he wants to essentially fuck him. Cora does not respond well to this. She tries to get the alien, I should say, to leave. He doesn't. Violence ensues. For someone like Zack Snyder, who has so much overtly homoerotic imagery in his movies, to use that scene with a gay character is kind of weird. Because, as I already said, Zack Snyder really, really, really loves the muscled male form. So it comes off almost self-hating. Not that I'm saying he's gay, but it comes off very self-hating adjacent. One of the things that amazed me about Star Wars was the variety of aliens that existed within that world. So many different types of beings, and it was just fantastic. Though the thing is, as I grew older, I started to ask myself, why would an alien look like a walrus, for instance? Why would they have 5 arms? Whatever. I started to question the logic that I was seeing on screen. And so, when I saw Rebel Moon, and I saw the same things play out, namely just a lot of weird aliens, not really based upon anything, it began to bother me. Because, once again, it's not necessary. For instance, let's say you're talking about a people who live on a planet with a very high gravity. Those people would likely be shorter and stockier, more muscle to move in that type of environment. You can do this with aliens. Base the design of the aliens on the planets that they exist on. Zack Snyder didn't do that though. He just threw in, as far as I can see, a bunch of weird looking beings. These days, that's frankly lazy because all you need to do is design a planet, design the environment, design the people to fit the environment. It's not difficult, not really. Though Zack Snyder, once again, not being a very good writer, just threw weird people in it. It was kind of disappointing, to be totally honest. I get it, but still, nonetheless, disappointing. So, at the end of the day, Rebel Moon is certainly watchable and even interesting at points, but it doesn't hold together. And that has a lot to do with also, Zack Snyder changes things to change things. For instance, if you look at lasers that are fired in Rebel Moon, They have this very plasma type effect, which is interesting to watch. But do we really need that? Why are you investing so much effort in the lasers when you're neglecting the people, the planet, the story? There's so much you are not doing, but we get flashy lasers. Rebel Moon is not a great movie. As I said, it is watchable and you might even enjoy it. It's just not very good. So what do you think? This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. If you agree, disagree, let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or a follow.